Kind of have to like almost wear pants now. This kind of sucks. Hey, welcome to my new setup. Hope you like it. I'll be adding more stuff as time goes along. Anyway, I watched a movie last night. Here's what I think about it. A Time to Kill. This movie was released in 1996. It has Matthew McConaughey. We all know him from something. Sandra Bullock. You probably know her from The Proposal or The Blind Side. Samuel L. Jackson doesn't need an introduction. Kiefer Sutherland from Call of Duty World at War and or 24, along with many other projects. Ashley Judd from Dolphin's Tale, Heat, and Frida. Charles S. Dutton, whom you might not know, but if you look up his IMDb credits, you actually see a lot of things he'll pop up on. Because for me, he looked so familiar, and then going to his page, I was like, oh, I remember him in that episode of that TV show, etc., stuff like that. It's really interesting to go look at. Donald Sutherland, who I didn't know was Kiefer Sutherland's son. I mean, last name, kind of like, you're like, doy. But you think about it, there's a lot of common names, sometimes even in theater. So it's very interesting to be like, wow, they're father, son, and they're both really renowned actors. You might know him from The Hunger Games. He was President Snow. Or you might know him from Pride and Prejudice. So, bam, powerhouse. I know I usually speak about how casting is pretty good, or like where everyone's from, but this is a powerhouse of people. Kevin Spacey's in it, but I just have to mention him because at this time he was in his prime. I'm just gonna stop talking about him. He did good, but we're just gonna yeet him out of here. But Jackson and McConaughey just steal the show. They are just powder kegs of emotion and acting and just oomph, Side note, this is Joel Schumacher's film. Batman and Robin, his probably worst film ever, in a lot of people's opinion. I'll save my own for another time. This was the next film he directed. For me, that's insane. You go from a super comic book movie with campy Batman, and the next film you have is involving the Ku Klux Klan, rape, murder, child molestation, and murder, and just all these like super adult things, and like soul gut-wrenching. It's a huge difference, and I'm surprised he could do it, but he did it, I think. I mentioned the entire cast because I truly do believe everyone in it did a really good job. But like I mentioned, McConaughey and Jackson are where it's at in this film. I am shocked that there was no Oscars for any of it. But upon looking upon this film, not a whole lot of people enjoyed it, it seemed. Audience score was way higher than the critic score, but still, even, I'm surprised. I feel like if this movie came out now, totally different story. And that might be me being blasé. Is that the right word about it? That might just be me putting my own thoughts into something that I'm not getting or not understanding fully. But I think it would do really well if it was re-released with the same cast, really. This movie makes you think not only about the disgustingness of the racism that is throughout the entire film, but of the justice system in general. A common question in this film is whether or not you would do what Samuel L. Jackson character did. His daughter, his 10-year-old daughter, was raped, beaten with beer cans to the point where bone was showing, and left to hung, and that failed, and then they threw her in the river to drown and die. And she lived, but she'll never have kids. And she had a time where she couldn't walk for a bit. She eventually started walking in the film, but it was briefly noted in the film that she couldn't for a while, at least at the very beginning after recovering. And that the two people that did it were going to walk away, essentially. This is the Deep South in the 80s, or I think it was the 80s the film was set in. Just in a bad time in the South, and just Jackson's character decided to take it into his own hands and murdered the two boys that did it. Not boys, they're men. They're 23 and something, 25 and something like that. They were men. They were fully aware of their decisions and actions, and The entire film is whether or not you would do the same thing. And I'm not going to go into the nuances of the film, not the nuances, but I'm not going to go into the actual heavy plot of it, but just know there's a lot of intense, heavy subjects that, if anything I just said makes you queasy, or images of the KKK and stuff like that get to you, it's going to be a hard watch, but I think it's worth the viewing. Watching it, I couldn't stop but asking myself, would I do the same thing? If I exhausted all my legal resources, would I kill men that raped my daughter to the point that she can't even have kids and she was 10 years old and almost killed her? Obviously I'm on camera, so I'm not going to say anything, but it makes you think really hard about life and what you cherish and what you would do for the things you cherish. I loved every minute of this film. I don't see how people... I guess I can see people how they might think it's too long. I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but for me, every minute I ate up. Every minute, even scenes that didn't seem important, set up certain plot points that either came to fruition like you thought they were going to, or ended in kind of a anticlimactic way, but in the way that kept the story stolid and character arcs intact. Certain things could have happened, but it would have been totally against that character's ideology, and I love that it kept with it. I might be giving a lot of credit to the film, but I really want to go read the book and see if I can give more credit to it than the actual movie, but that's for another time. But this was based on a book. In 1989, a novel by John Grisham was released. But for the movie itself, it only has won 3 awards. One of them was a Razzie. The Razzie was for Worst Written Film that grossed over $100 million in the box office for that year. The next was a Blockbuster Award for Sandra Bullock for Best Leading Actress. But the most important thing, and I think it speaks volumes, is the NAACP gave the Image Award for Best Film to this movie. That should mean more than an Oscar for this film. Soul-wrenching, it's gut-wrenching. It makes you really question a lot of things in life, and that's a good film. I review stuff based upon what it could have done, how it did, and the differences between what the peak of what they could have done against what was the worst case scenario for the film, and this is the best case. Everything that was brought to the table, actor, directing, crew, all that jazz, was used 110% A+, all the way through. This is a 10 out of 10 film. I'd recommend go watching it, if only that one first time viewing. It might be hard to watch a second time. I know in my life I'll go back and revisit it, but it's going to be a while until I do, because it's a hard watch. Like I said in BlacKkKlansman, it might be weird for me to say it, but I see images of the KKK and like that much hate, and it just makes me sick to my stomach, and just it just gives you chills. And they do a lot of scenes where it's just gut-wrenching to all types of people, and I won't spoil who and what, but God, does it get to you. So just be aware of that when you watch this film, if you do watch this film. It is a very sober review, or somber review, depressing review, but it's still a good watch. I highly recommend it. But as always, my name is Clark Addison. I review entertainment because I care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.